Welcome to Owning the Masters, a podcast where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle for the culture. I'm your host, Be the Boss, and I am here with two of my favorite people, my special guests. I have Miss Lakshmi Symone Rae, and I have Eric Saunders here, aka the Green-Eyed Bandit.
Over there. Okay. There we go.
We got the cameras everywhere, right? Are we just gonna do straight ahead?
These two, y'all can talk to each
And we can edit this out later, right?
And this will be mostly for you. And then
Okay.
while y'all are talking, it'll be on the three of y'all.
Got you.
Okay.
The only thing
Bet.
is just don't touch the mics because
Okay.
Got you.
All right. So I wanted to start off first of all just by having y'all kind of introduce yourselves so the people know who you are and kind of what you do. So Lakshmi, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself first.
All right. Thank you for having me, first of all. I
You are
appreciate it
so
so much. I'm
welcome.
so excited for this journey that you were picking back up.
I'm excited.
So my name is Lakshmi Symone Rae. I do a multitude of things, but currently I am a music artist and I do spiritual, like drill and trap music. So it's really my way of doing what I feel like the Most High wants me to do, which is basically serving people something that can feed their higher self so we can ascend out of
Amen.
the matrix.
Ain't that it? Go ahead and introduce yourself for me, Eric.
Wow. Eric Saunders. Go by the Green-Eyed Bandit. Most folks don't understand it. I don't ask for respect. I demand it. And in demanding that, I essentially, I'm from Indianapolis, married with 3 kids, a dog. She's a bully. And, yeah. I like to go ahead and mention I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I've not done that in a while. But I say that because one of the most pressing thing that's happened to me in my life is losing, reconnecting or staying connected and strengthening my relationship with my father, but then only to lose him in 2020 to homicide. And so it was just at that moment I just kind of vowed, and I'm still, of course, in that process to say, how do I turn that anger, this rage, and turn it into something positive and productive? For that moment I felt like Batman, and my father loved comics, like galore. And so it was interesting. I saw like a little Joker, little toy, like on the day of everything that would happen. So, I've been able to find myself as a host like such as yourself, hosting live events, emceeing, goodness gracious, comedy, acting, and and just recently started up Stages and Pages LLC with my wife, publishing, where we have youth books, poetry books. So that's the point. Shout out Eddie Locks and the 3 Pants,
Yes.
Sugar Cream Pie and me,
Yep.
and oh goodness, Wildflowers.
And
so,
we're gonna have all those linked.
Yeah. So and then we got Me in Pieces coming out as soon as we get that out. So
And don't let it get lost on you that he's talking about all this stuff is new. Eric really been out here for years.
okay.
He
All
really
right.
been
You know
out
what?
here.
I appreciate
He
that.
really been out here.
Yeah. I'm going to
for a very long
that
time.
because when it comes to this conversation and what I'm seeing going on in art, and it's great to meet new folks. It really is. And I say that because before, we was going on, I talk about what I've gathered from the elders. My first time performing was at Cafe Kumba.
Yeah.
Which is, 30 plus years running,
Yep.
one of the original poetry spots
Where
here
is that
in,
at?
right here. And I say that because it's moved. Like if I could tell you where it's at right now,
Got you.
I can't tell you like at press, like last where we was at was on Boulevard off of 40th and Boulevard.
Yeah.
But we talking about it was at the Omega Center. It was
Oh,
at,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, the Omega Center that was on Sutherland.
Yeah.
And then it was at Big Fellas, which was out there off of Fairfield in College.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, so it's just like it's been a group of people, literally a consciousness that has spread throughout the city in a time where art wasn't arting like that, poetry wasn't poetry like that. You can, Harlem, New York got it, L.A. got it, Atlanta got it. Nap has it.
Yeah. Nat
Nap
been
has
having
Nap
it.
been having it since Indiana Avenue, since,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, before. And so being able to have rubbed elbows with those folks at the age of 18
Yep.
and then going to IU and then doing some poetry there, and just then leaving, coming back. When I left, came back to Indianapolis, it was Alan Emergy, January York, Gabrielle Peterson, so many poets that people are like, you don't know them, but like we got 20 years relationship when it was just like,
Yep.
we was just doing it. And if you ever ride down 38th Street, right there on Central, that little box right there, that was called Midtown Cafe, where Mug used to be jumping every Sunday. I had my first feature there with Eclectic Poetic featuring Nas Khalid and oh my goodness, Nas Khalid and Shawnette Byers. We met in IU. We were called Eclectic Poetic because we had poetry, we rap, we had a band, we had a visual artist, we had a photographer, and all that was going at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's when visual artists were not a part. So when I see everything
It's
merging
going full
and everything,
circle.
I'm just like, I can kind of sit back in my OG self and just like, I know.
Started that movement.
I know. We
Yeah.
got something to do with
Absolutely.
this, and that's okay. I don't have to
And
boast.
I love that.
I don't have to.
You don't have to
I
boast,
don't
but
have
you
to. I don't
still.
want to, but I do it so people can respect context,
Yes.
right? And it's because it's liberation in context and
Yeah.
understanding what came before, because like as we were discussing, we seem so lost,
Yeah.
you know, and since Simone was talking about the Matrix, bringing folks, it's so beautiful. I'm glad you said that. I've been having that conversation with people for weeks now, just like, are you noticing Matrix vibes? I know I'm noticing
Definitely.
Matrix vibes.
Definitely.
Terminator vibe, you know, so I'm a little chatty right now. Go on, take the mic back.
No,
I'll
you
take
good. You good. I love
So-
to hear it, just because like that's kind of why I'm glad we get to have this conversation. Because like I said, Eric be trying to be humble, but he really been out here in the art community for a while, and Lakshmi's been doing it for about a year in the music space. But she acts and models and does all that.
I started off doing that after high school, so I didn't go to college. I didn't continue my education because I feel like my mama went to school for the both of us. You know what I mean? She's a doctor, so, you know, I didn't really have to, like, I was with her the whole time she was going to school.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like I picked up on a lot of, you know, just the knowledge that she got along the way with that. But like you were talking about, like, when you have a foundation in something, just to kind of, like you said, it's not necessarily to brag on something. It's just to explain, you know, like, this is where I'm coming from. So, like, I do spiritual music because I've been this person all my life. You know, nothing against people that are new to their spiritual journey or, you know, whatever that might be, but I literally have always been this way.
Yeah.
So,
And I like
what
the
I
fact
talk
that
about.
people are stepping out into that, because I'm kind of sandwiched in the middle. And I feel like a lot of people from my little part of the generation, we kind of closed off, and it was kind of like a hamster wheel.
yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of people that was willing to really step out and be their individual selves.
I think it's a fear-based
So the fact that
thing,
people,
too.
it is, it was a fear-based thing. So we're kind of sandwiched in the middle. Like, Eric and I are close to the same age. Like, there weren't a lot of people doing what they did
right
back when we were younger. Like,
Right.
yeah, there was a very small cohort, and I
Right.
see it more now. Like,
Mhm.
we went to an event the other day, Hill Indie. Shout out to Janessa the
Yes.
Messenger.
That was
But
amazing.
just seeing like people get together and like
Mhm.
be on the same wavelength of this like healing journey, and combining art with healing and
Yeah.
creativity and things like that. I love to see this movement.
Yeah, that was great.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
topic was
This was Saturday,
healing
right?
from,
This was two
it?
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
About 2
Yeah.
weeks ago.
And the topic, shout out to Ray Phillips. He brought the whole, like, you know, stage for it to be talked about, because he's been on his own journey for healing his childhood trauma.
Yeah, it was
Like you
childhood
guys
trauma.
were saying about Bishop Sarah Jakes, that she was talking about, like, how there's literally, like, you know, scientific methods that go in with some of the, like, religious terms, and how you can bring those together. And that's what he noticed, is that there are patterns and things that stemmed from what he's still doing today, that stemmed from certain moments in his
Yes.
childhood. And then he carried that with him the whole time
Yep.
into thinking that's like who he is now. And then
Yeah.
he had to like relearn himself.
Yes.
And that's something that we all have in common.
That's something
you
that we
know?
literally all have in common. It goes back to
Mhm.
what you were just talking about as far as like the somatic healing, like Dr. Anita Phillips was kind of going
Mhm.
into like the combination of faith-based along with that somatic healing. So we are getting more of a spiritual like knowledge.
Yeah.
I think a lot's happened over the last few years that have brought us kind of to that.
Mhm.
But we also understand that, okay, it ain't just pray it away. A prayer
Well, like
away
he's
make
talking
the
about
devil get the
transmuting
devil
it.
away. Yes.
He's taking this anger and this grief and he's turning it into something that is being transformed into passion instead
Yes.
of anger. You know, that's literally along the same lines.
Absolutely.
You know,
That was my
affirmation.
affirmation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I have anger. I said, but does the anger have you? And
Mhm.
you know, and then lately so look at like Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Okay, you're gonna get a lot of comic metaphors up in this bad boy. Like me and Pops, we was on this before the movies came out.
We
man,
with
you
it,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So it was like, but it makes sense in that here you got this guy that when he flips out, all you gotta do is tap him, and next thing you know, I'm a ball of rage.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they realize that the strength comes when, if you fast forward, that this Hulk being to the point where he's all the way out of this world operating just in this Hulk self. But then when he comes back, even after that Hulk anger got humbled by somebody stronger, older, wiser, Thanos, Hulk, mean Hulk didn't even want to come out no more.
Yeah.
Mean Hulk eventually had to submit himself back to Bruce Banner to when they was just like kind of one. That we don't know the process, but that to me was like that was
That's
the
it.
direction
That's the
to where you
perfect
went,
metaphor.
You saw this process
Yeah.
to where this person, I'm still me, but I'm Hulk out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for me, like that's what happens next. So it's like imagine how you've known Eric with poetry and hosting but sometimes I get out there and I just Hulk out.
Yep.
But imagine if it's all together now with the poetry. Imagine if it's all together now with the comedy.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I'm saying? That I got mentors and folks in my ear just like, why don't you do this?
Check in.
Can you come over here to do this? Can you come over to do this? I'm like, okay. But now you can talk about that difference between fear of failing or fear of success.
Ooh, that's a huge
Because
one.
like I said, when this, take it as you want. I've had green eyes all my life. People have been in my face all my life.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm beautiful
Yeah.
right here all my life. In other words, I'm
Yeah.
tired of being objectified.
Yeah.
Just the
Said,
other
"I'm
day,
welcome
I'm
to your
serious.
face."
I'm like,
No,
I said
for
this
real.
the other day, somebody was just like, you have beautiful eyes and walked away. And I said, I have a name.
Okay.
I was like, I have
No,
a
for
name.
real. For real.
But if, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but if it's on the other foot, you
Yeah.
have beautiful breasts. You dog.
Yeah.
You ain't you
Right.
womanizer.
Right.
You toxic masculinist.
Yeah.
You this, that, another.
Mhm.
But if I say you tell me you got pretty eyes and I smack you, you Jezebel.
Yeah.
You woman of the night.
Then you- then that's
skeezer,
toxic
You know what I'm
masculinity.
saying? You toxic womanist or feminist or what, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, but then
I feel
yeah.
that though. I really do feel like we are so much more than our physical outward appearances. Because for one, that's something that none of us can really
You
control.
can't control it.
We were
Mhm.
just born into
with whatever
the
is the
genetics that we get from
societal
our parents. You know what I
so
mean?
when I
the
say
societal
success,
standard of
I don't
beauty.
like people in my face all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when people are like, yes, you're so that I don't want to be an asshole. I'm
But
gonna
you wanna
say
set
thank you, you know what I'm
boundaries,
saying? But it's
too.
like, so imagine
Ooh, that
like
hit
having that
home.
feeling, and now you're around the whole world, and you know, again, that clear objectification, and I'm
Yeah.
married, and I'm with kids, you know, I got kids, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like if I don't have nothing else
Mhm.
but my marriage and my children, that part is fine.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't see me on the grand stage using every bit of talent I have, you know, yeah, you want to use all your talents, but I also could spend that time making sure I
Yeah.
usher that into my
I was
children,
about to say.
and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because again, like, what do I really need to do this for? Am I doing this for vanity's sake? Am I doing it for the
That-
ambition? Am I doing it to glorify God?
Yeah.
Right.
And that was kind of my hesitation with even
Right.
doing this platform again, because I am very private. I have admitted lately publicly that I do struggle with social anxiety, and it is bad. as social as I may seem, like on social media, but social media is different because you can be social by yourself.
Right.
Like I could be social in a room with nobody in it but me, and I can put it down when I get too overwhelmed, and I can turn my phone off.
Right.
When, like you said, when you're in a room with people, it's different because you can't turn it off. I can't control who walks over here or who says, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," or do I know it? Like I can't control that, and it makes me lock up and go into a shell.
I understand.
So as I grow the
though.
platform, I'm like, okay, that means I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to be out here more.
Mhm.
Am I ready to be out here? Because then I really
So-
gotta
oh
face
my
my
gosh.
social anxiety,
You
and
do
it's
the same thing that I
it's
do, though,
crazy.
because I also, believe it or not, have social anxiety. I've not always been a social butterfly. I was very introverted for a large part of my life.
yeah,
And I like to be on the stage because I feel that there's a separation.
Right.
definitely.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
part of how I handle my social anxiety. Is
I
I'm
I
like,
get
well,
that.
right. You know what I mean?
I
So I'd
get that.
rather
I have to
be
face it.
like have a little bit of some separation where I don't have to like be in the midst. And then like I was telling you, I'm like you'll say you'll kind of like shut down and get quiet. I'm like the opposite. I will go
You'll
and
lean
literally talk
into
to
it.
strangers because I'm just like, okay, I need to, I could just feel
Yeah.
myself about to be like, okay, I'm about to go. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
So I'm like, okay, let me talk to somebody. So I'll go
I
talk
will
to
be
somebody.
so far in the corner.
But that's still my social anxiety
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It just comes out that way instead of
opposed
like,
to,
I
like,
go
the
outward with
opposite.
it instead of inward, but it's still a social anxiety thing. So
I get that, and I
Yeah.
think like you were saying, I think a lot of that could come from like the fear of success. Because again, like you said, you can be on stage. Like I'm okay with hosting, public speaking, hosting, podcasting. Those things do not make me nervous
Yeah.
at all because I don't have to be vulnerable. Literally, I am here for somebody else.
It is a vulnerability.
But I had to do a pageant
when you're
last
there
year.
on the
Yeah.
same level with people, and you're like, they
But
have
when I did
access to me.
I had to do a pageant last year,
I don't wanna
and
talk to
I'm the
anybody.
contestant. So a part of doing a
Mm.
pageant is you have to showcase yourself in the best light.
Yeah.
So it was all about me. So I'm on stage and talking about myself. That was the most vulnerable I have ever been in my life. I did my poetry on stage. Nobody even knew I wrote poetry, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody.
I didn't know that.
Nobody
Well, I
knew I
haven't
wrote
heard it,
poetry.
though.
No, I got on stage and I did a poem
Wow.
with my daughters. It's
Like you-
called
like
A
you
Letter
about to
from
do
My
right now?
Daughters.
Yeah,
No,
you
I'm
about
not
to do
going to.
right now?
No.
Okay.
It'll never hit the light of day
Okay,
again.
I got one. I do mine, and you do yours.
You gonna give us the poetry before you leave? I can't though.
I might, but you gotta do yours.
I gotta do it.
I do mine.
But yeah, I had to get up on stage and do that, and it was very vulnerable for
So
me.
it took a lot for you.
It
to
took
be
a
able
lot.
to do that.
So much so that there is video footage, and my pageant sisters laugh at me because I won't watch the video footage. I've never seen
still
any
haven't
of.
seen
No, it was over a year ago, and I won't go back and watch it.
What?
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it.
That's wild. And okay, I'm glad you said that because I feel like for me, like I said, being as long as I have, it's almost like playing football. When we play football, you got to watch film. You got to see what you did, or any sport. And then, but even with like poetry, it's like I don't know what it is, but I'll perform, and I won't go back and watch it. And I've had some sets where I was like, "Ooh, I hope they got that recorded,"
Yeah.
because I know that at that moment something came over me, and I was like, "This is how I capture the room. This is how I do command that attention." And I say that because, man, as poets, and so this is my point where I'm gonna shout out to my local fellow spoken word artists and poets because we'll be in spaces now where, and again, shout out to people who are doing new things and doing different diverse things. But oftentimes you might have an event and then you'll say, well, ooh, we need some poets. Can we throw a little poetry in there? Notice that adjective,
A
little.
little.
Just to
Little
kind of say,
razzle
we know
dazzle.
I said, man,
Little sprinkle,
listen, I'm gonna say
sprinkle.
this to everybody, and poetry is made to be heard and felt, not just something to fill an agenda, or to just like you at a circus or something like that. You just walking along. Oh, there goes a poet over there. Look at him. He's just pouring from his heart. Drink up. You know what I'm saying? But I say that because we've been in sets where, people still moving, music. You know what I'm saying? Just like da da da, and everybody just You know,
Doing their
but it's just
thing.
kind of like it's stems in intimacy between human connection. And so, yeah, you got to set the atmosphere.
Definitely.
And so, again, as if we're tying it back to owning the masters, I think with anybody's craft, you got to understand the ins and outs, the boundaries, and how this actually how this works. It just can't. We just gonna throw this stuff all together and you know what I'm saying, and call it gumbo.
Especially poetry, because
Like, it's
poetry
not.
is people pouring their hearts out.
Right.
When you doing
It's
poetry,
very
like
vulnerable.
when I write poetry, it's usually because I'm in a space of like high emotion that I'm releasing. So when I'm writing my poetry, it's because it's whatever was written on my heart. I needed to write it on the paper, not because you know,
of some
I'm
other
just doing it
agenda.
because I got something to do.
Yeah.
No, like usually when people write poetry, it comes from a space of emotion. So you have to be aware of that when you are encountering like anybody's art. What did Erica say? She said, keep in mind I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my because art
that's
comes
everybody.
from the depths of your soul. When you're creating anything, it comes from your soul. And people that are outside of that or don't create, I'm sorry. You missing out. But like people that do create understand that.
And I'm glad you said soul, from my healed soul, from my broken soul,
That.
from my ghetto soul, from my gentrified soul, from my systematic soul, from my welfare soul.
Poetry.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like bars.
Bars, always.
But you know what I'm saying? But it's like, because we get to judging everybody, but it's like where my soul has been through ain't been the same place where your soul has been through. But I can shut up because my soul has told me, like, listen to that person. Listen to, feel where they coming from. You know, I hear the soul judging on the internet. Wait, man,
Ain't that crazy?
It's such a judgy time. In a time where folks got
the
tired of
judgments
being
are
judged by the
wild.
generation before.
And then we turn around and do it to each
and we come around
other.
and do it constantly. Am I right?
Well,
It's so
this
weird
is
to
the
me.
thing. I try not to ever not saying I've never been judgmental before, but like I have had to check that because I'm like, who am I to judge anybody for what choices they make? I don't know what they've been through. I don't know, what goes on at their core, what they think about, what they have to deal with on a daily. And then ultimately, I think about how if we are to be judged at the end of our lives by the ultimate creator, the most high, God, whatever you want to call it, I don't, please forgive me. Don't judge me. You know what I mean? Please forgive me. So who am I? Like,
who are we to judge?
Who are we to judge? Because I really hope that the Most High has more grace for you than you've given to other people by the judgments that you've put on them.
That part.
Because I want to be forgiven for all my mishaps. I'm sorry. I know I'm not perfect, but like, don't condemn me. Like,
right. That's the ultimate definition of love to me. Like you can't love and forgiveness go hand in hand.
And grace is an action.
And grace, yeah,
Right.
It's
it
an
is.
action.
Oh yeah,
I worked in a charter school, so I know grace had to be an action.
that
But like
'Cause
y'all
you was
said,
seeing
we
them
live
all.
in a world
Yeah.
where people like will sit up and judge because we live with the internet the way it's set up. There's the spectacles and the spectators.
we talked about that. Yeah, talk about that.
So the spectacles would be us putting ourselves out there, being vulnerable, putting yourself up on stage, because the people that are the spectators are professional judgers. Like they judge, tear stuff down. They don't do anything. They don't create anything, but their job is to tear stuff down, break it apart, see what they did like, what they didn't like, what they would have done better, but they're not actually going to do anything. But that's just that's their job.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that when we put ourselves out there, that's what they do.
They
And
playing
being
their
in
role.
the place of the internet, people feel so free to be able to do that because they feel like they're faceless and nameless, and they can just say, you can read people's thoughts.
Yeah.
So they're saying the things they would never say to your face, but they will type them out in the comments.
And
Yeah,
the
they're
internet
like, no,
has
those are your
given
thoughts.
Right.
and the internet has really
Right.
given us license to kind of be in everybody else's
head.
business. So therefore people automatically feel like they're entitled to your space.
Right.
And like you said, there's a level of judgment, but like when you put yourself out there like that, it's to be expected.
Yeah, that's gonna
Like
happen.
you said, yeah,
know?
they doing their job.
And you just gotta like not pay attention to it, brush it to the side, and keep on, doing what you're doing.
Or like you
know
said,
that-
transmute it
Yep.
and turn it
Which-
into art, like Summer Walker
yeah.
do. Summer Walker, she is the epitome of transmute some negative energy. She did a whole album with her baby daddy's music on it that they breakup music to him with all of his tracks. Let's like, to me, That was a flex.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's Summer Walker. Do they have that on the CDs? I'm a CD.
No, you
they
have
got-
to
You know
download
they don't
it.
do CDs no more.
No,
gotta
I mean,
download
okay,
it.
but see, at what point in time are they gonna treat it like vinyl? And when they make a comeback,
Oh, it's coming.
like I said, as long as I got a CD
But you
player
know
in my
what?
car,
I don't think CDs are gonna make a comeback.
No, I feel
Nah,
like
it
everything
costs too much.
evolves.
it-
yeah.
In the sound, just the
evolves,
sound
yeah.
quality, you get a different kind of sound quality on vinyl that you don't get on a
Yeah.
CD. It's like plastic.
It's a
So,
nostalgic thing now. People
is.
get vinyls just kind of for like the aesthetic.
but it's the
aspect of
sound
it.
quality. Like the
Yeah.
sound on vinyl was richer.
'Cause it hits
So now we're
different,
trying to
yeah.
create that with the spatial audio. It's trying to
Mm.
recreate that rich vinyl sound that you would
Right.
get back in the day when your grandparents had them big 4-foot speakers in the living
But they
room.
were using instruments too.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's missing is people have these
Something like that
synthetic
live feeling
instruments,
is-
you know?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nothing, and that's not broke.
It's not. It's
I
coming
want to
back.
compliment what you said though. You had said something remind me of an episode of Black Mirror.
Hmm.
You know Black Mirror that was on
Mhm,
Netflix.
mhm.
There was
I
an
love Black
episode
Mirror.
where I think you said the spectacle and the spectator or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was an episode. I think the brother from Get Out was on, and they
Oh,
and
I
they
didn't
was
see
on that
one,
bicycle,
but I know which
and
one
then
you're
they
talking
he worked his way out, and it was just like,
Uh-huh.
wow, you want so much to be on the other side
Mhm.
to be the spectacle,
Mhm.
but then it's almost like be careful
Mm-hmm.
because then you'll become a slave to that spectacle,
Absolutely.
and to where
Let's
you
talk
can't
about
even
that.
get
Absolutely.
away. And that's why, like, that's another reason why I kind of pace myself because, like,
scared of
with
success.
this and I'm glad my
and
role
the social
models.
anxiety
that-
too, because you feel like I
But-
gotta get on the other side so I can not have this pressure, and, you know,
Mhm.
from this anxiety, this social anxiety. But like you said, then you get over there and you find out like I'm more vulnerable than I ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
Now
why I
I
said I
can't
go back to
hide.
my elders
Mhm.
and the OGs. And like Mari Evans told me, as I'm sitting at this table with you, I sat down with Mari
Shout
Evans
out
for
Mari
lunch.
Evans, our next door
You know
neighbor.
what I'm saying? Like, and it was just one of them things. I saw her walking by. I ran down the hall to say, "Are you
Mhm.
Mari Evans?" Like a little kid would say, "Are you Drake? Are you this?" And I'm like, "No, Mari Evans." And I said, "Can you please tell me what I have to do to be a successful poet?
What she tell you? Just write.
Just keep writing."
That was her advice.
Wow.
So I
keep
grew up
writing.
next door
She
to
grew up
Mari
next door,
Evans.
right?
Yeah, I grew up next
Wow.
door to her.
just like
and
keep writing. And
that
now
was
here we are,
always
two
what she would
children
tell us.
who have been connected with this person who just said,
Yeah.
and for
She's the
those-
reason I write. Literally,
Mhm.
like as a child, like my stepmom would always buy me journals, but I had an affinity for writing, and she noticed that I would always read. All the other kids be outside playing. I'd be sitting on the porch with my books. So
Mhm.
she, at some point, I was maybe about 10. She's like, "Come on over here." She would give me books to read, and she always told me that same advice. Me and my sister, like, how do I become a better writer? She said, just keep writing. That was always her advice.
And that's,
Just
you
keep
know,
writing. Just
And,
keep
Yeah.
doing
and,
it.
and if you guys want to
magical
find her
advice.
now, she's on the mural downtown.
Yeah.
The black lady that's
Wow.
downtown, that mural, and it's crazy. The Rebel. When I die, I'm sure
Is that
I
the
have
one
a.
on Mass Ave?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one on Mass Ave.
Oh.
That's her.
Wow.
Yep.
I
So-
was just asking. Me and my mom were down there at the taco place. And,
Who is that?
Who was that?
Yeah.
And
we
so
was
now
like,
you're
who
getting
is
your
that?
answer, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So look, that's the whole
She was
conversation.
amazing.
That's a
Full
conversation for the movie
circle.
Limitless.
Oh,
To
my
where it's just like
goodness.
manifestation. You ask the
Mhm.
question,
Mhm.
Now you got
and
to-
now
Oh
you're
my
getting the
gosh.
answer.
I love that
with
you
people
said
that were
that.
directly
'Cause
connected.
That
I
are
just
people who are directly
discovered this.
Yeah.
Like the why method. Speaking of affirmations and things like that, asking yourself why. Sometimes when we use affirmations, we say, I am this, I am that. And then that's in your right brain, your creative mind. Your left brain, the logical mind, is like, girl, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Show me the proof. Show me the proof.
Mm.
But what you need to do is say, why? Why am I so successful? Why do I have 15
love that.
properties? Why do I make, $20,000 a month, whatever? And then your logical brain scrambles to come up with answers for that, which now shows you the pathway
to get to where you want.
to get to where you want.
I
Yeah.
love that.
So, right. I just had to throw that in there because you were saying about the why. Because I asked, who is that? And
Mhm.
got the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm like, look, that's
answers.
old school secret now, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
we tied
And
some
it's in the
Napoleon
Bible
Hill
too.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
When
but
it
it's,
says,
I am
ask
that
and
I
you
am.
shall
Yeah.
receive. You ask
Mhm.
the question and you will receive the
The
answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
That's
love
wild.
that. What's it say?
I am who I am.
I love that.
You know.
Nice.
But no, that's definitely like I'm glad that you brought us here for because exactly what you said. That was
Mhm.
my conversation riding down the street the other day, like I am that. And then I said, why don't you have the crowd say I am? I am that. I am. I am that. I am beautiful. I am that. I am.
That's what God
I
said
am
when
that.
somebody said,
I am
"Who are
incredible."
you? And what's your
You know what I'm
name?"
saying?
I
So
am
it's just
that
like,
I am.
I don't know, man. It's almost like to the point where the code of love, the code of healing has to really amplify and grow, because the code of evil and the code of cowardice, and people call
That
it, don't
fear.
you want to call it snitch, don't snitch. At some point in time now, it's just straight up cowardice. But even still, we're playing with a flawed justice system. I know that,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Got
Yeah.
you. But some point in time, we got to take ownership of our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back
and
to that
people's-
childhood
right.
trauma healing.
And, and just like understand, like, and just taking ownership over the situation. I've been in so many different tables here lately. I'm just like, there are so many points of influence here. And now it's like, it's cool. We got a black store on the east side, you know? And I was just like, and I met with pastors last week, and I met, with these folks last week, and I met with these folks, everybody's network. I'm just like, what is our one collective goal that we can say that we can influence as a community? Not saying, well, the government needs to do it. We need to decide whether Joe or Shreve's going to do it or the city council going to do it. But it's like, at some point in time, like, hey, community, we got this fun. We're going to do some psychological attacks to
And I
us.
feel like that's
Let's
where
get some
we are.
billboards and just say, I am that I am. Let's get some
No,
billboards
really.
that say cowardice, killing is cowardice. Let's get some billboards that'll make people start to subconsciously ingest this information without even knowing that you're being counterattacked.
No,
you know
for
what I'm saying?
real.
Like, we already know that we are, a lot of us, especially people of color, are systematically jacked up. But said, I got to put this little extra layer, and I got to put this Morpheus in your way, or so to
No,
speak,
for real.
to let you know that you are the one. You know what I'm saying? That you got to get up out of this.
And I feel like
mindset.
that's what we're getting
You know what I'm
to
saying?
in our
Like, if we know where
this
people are
space.
at, we got to be just hyper strategic in terms of the messages that get to people.
That's what I do with my music. That's why I say I do spiritual drill
But
music.
tell
trap
him
music.
Yes, break it down.
break down your, because Simone's a
I'm
Virgo.
already vibing with,
Yeah, she's a Virgo, but she's very intentional about her music. So
I'm
explain
extremely
to them,
intentional.
like,
You said she about to sing something right now? Or she about to, I didn't. I'm 40 in the ears. I didn't.
Ha ha.
Bars. I hear you.
Oh yeah. But basically, I'm extremely intentional about the way that I notice that people consume music. So I'm intentional about the way that I create it, because I know that for me, especially, I really just made the type of music that I would want to listen to. Because I know that there's religious music, there's spiritual music. I listen to mantras, stuff like that. And it's all very, very high vibey, very airy, you know what I mean? Very light. And that sometimes is not what reality looks like to us, because things can be very dense and very real and very heavy, So I use beats that somebody would hear, somebody talking about killing the ops or, trapping out the back door, ruining their communities and
Like drill
killing their
beats.
brothers. Yeah, stuff like that. I use drill beats and trap beats, but then the subject matter in the words, I'm so intentional about every single word that I say. So, and like you said, it's my way of imprinting in the subconscious what I want people to mirror, instead of mirroring, like a lot of the, no offense to a lot of the female rappers out here, but they make prostitute music.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They say you don't give it up, let's give you $1, boom, boom. They don't talk about love. There's like, you know what I mean? There's no like feeding other people and loving other people. It's just about me, and I'm this and I'm that,
And this is what I can do for you
and
under the
that
covers.
affects people. Look at how it literally has been affecting our communities, our people, the youth. You know what I mean? It affects their mindset so heavily. So I'm like, okay, if y'all like to listen to this type of music, let me do the same type of flows, similar cadences, but what I'm talking about is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm extremely intentional about the way that I put it together.
She
so
does
it can
affirmation
be consumed.
music.
Mm-hmm.
She puts music.
That's the name
like,
of my first EP is Talk Pretty to Me,
Yeah.
affirmation music.
Yeah.
And Talk Pretty to Me just means like say beautiful things to yourself, put affirmations in your auric field. I explain what an auric field is and how to clean it and how to put your good affirmations in there and just how to get your higher self to take a hold instead of your body taking a hold of your experience.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
That's why I
So,
love her
yeah, this
music.
is the
It's a somatic
confirmation I needed there.
experience,
Mhm.
but it's
I got
also
an ice cream problem. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it. Butter pecan.
Exactly, because your body likes that.
Yeah, it
You know
loves
what I
it.
mean? But is it good
It
for
loves
you
it.
overall?
Man, listen, that's what happens when you grow up on a toxic Sesame Street. When your
Oh my
role model just
goodness.
eats cookies for no reason.
Yeah.
Cookies.
no
Oh,
for real.
just cookies. I told myself I would not eat cookie, but
And brother man living in the garbage and happy as pie.
No,
man,
okay.
but man, and I'm just like, what's down in there? That's like,
Okay.
like, is it-
But you gotta go to
Dude had a
Grouchland.
dude had a whole
Right.
penthouse up underneath that trash can.
No, for real.
This
Wow.
is just the-
He had a whole
He did a whole-
penthouse,
Now
and then it
Oscar
was a
was
whole.
balling.
It was a portal to another universe. Did you watch Elmo and Grouchland?
No.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
gonna
a
have to
whole.
watch that.
Yeah, it was a his
What?
his
Yeah,
trash
the trash
can
can was just the
was
front
a
door.
He was
whole
fooling
portal to a whole
everybody?
nother universe
So it
that
just
had
looked like
grouches in
that.
it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a whole
He,
Grouchland.
he wasn't just up underneath
Wow.
the lid the whole time. That don't make no
No.
sense. He was too smart just to be right up underneath the lid.
Wow.
That
Yeah.
dude move around.
That's
Yeah.
deep. That is deep. So we
Yeah,
were
you
just
gotta watch
talking
it.
about things being more than the outward appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And Sesame Street was that.
Mhm.
Who knew?
Look,
That was a
Fraggle Rock. That's a whole world behind them
Whole
rocks.
world behind the
Mm.
rocks.
Smurfs.
Let's talk about
There's a whole
Smurfs.
but let's talk about God, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. That dude
That
had a whole.
it was a portal. His house was
portal.
a portal too.
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman. Oh, that was constant portal.
Yeah.
It was all
Yeah.
kind of stuff going in and out of
Oh
there.
man.
That's hilarious. I mean, like now that we're
Yes.
looking back at these things, it was like everything
And we
we
see
watched
it with
was
a new eye.
portal related. Thundercats, He-Man,
Yeah.
All the way down
Transformers.
to the big comfy couch.
Yeah, Barbie,
No
Jim.
facts.
See, that's interesting.
Eureka's
Like you
Castle?
didn't watch Jim. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
I know Jim and the
Jim and the
what's the name? With the sparkles on their face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho, she just touched her earring and turned to a whole nother person.
Right.
It's an interesting
right.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why we are the way we
Wait,
are.
we are like this.
We really were. We were
Yeah.
raised to be esoteric. I said we.
Yep.
They created
Yeah.
this
Magic
generation.
school
Yeah.
bus.
We was all screwed up.
We lived in your comics. We lived in your imagination, and then here we are.
But then they had clubs for kids.
Club. Look, man, I was just talking the other day about. We used to go to Club 2001. I went to the Junction.
The Junction. Oh my gosh.
Out in
Do they have
Mooresville.
clubs
So-
for kids?
got no
Not
clubs for
anymore.
kids.
So we had actual
Clubs.
nightclubs. So our
Mhm.
parents complained, "Oh, y'all party all the time." We had nightclubs
What clubs
for
kids
middle
did
and high
they
school.
Man, I'm
The
telling
under
you, we was
18
out there in
clubs. We was out
2001.
here.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I did used to go to see Money and Baby Dookie's parties.
These wasn't house parties. These
was
were
like, we had
actual
little
clubs.
venues.
This Club
yeah,
2001
but they
was
were
like a
under
mansion.
Omega
18
Center. Do you
parties.
remember the little parties
weren't
they used to
that
have at
bad.
the
Some
Omega
parties
Center?
that
Oh,
don't make
yeah.
sense.
We had lock-ins.
No, we had clubs.
We had the Rink.
Yeah.
The Rink was pretty much a club.
It
Like how
was.
people bring
Yeah.
everybody skating. I'm like, okay, but that
Mhm.
was definitely the 90s. We was on the
Mhm.
East Side Rink.
The
mostly.
East Side. We was on. I'm
I
a
was
West
on the West
Sider,
Side,
so
but I
we
was on the
West
East Side
Rink.
Rink,
At
and we would
night,
skate, and then we would dance,
go
and
to the rink during
Yeah.
the day.
but here's the thing. Back
it was a
then,
thing.
those guys when we had it was so intentional. It was like our own little dance boogaloo. For those
Mhm.
Dance Boogaloo, that was a 1980s film. Boogaloo 1, Dance Boogaloo 2, with Turbo and Ozone. That's where that came from, that pop locking experience. But we would dance, and a lot of guys who was dancing, they would come and they would practice and they would battle. And then they would end
Yep.
up battling, and these guys in Star Quest.
StarQuest. Yep. Became StarQuest.
Star Quest was
Soaking
our
Wet?
Start soaking.
You
Soaking
remember
Wet,
Soaking Wet?
Trick and Treat,
Yes.
soaking Off the Hook.
Off the yes.
Let
We-
me
it
see.
was a
the seduction,
thing.
you know what I'm saying? You had
we had a
going on in
time.
my
Man, it was- that's
a
what I'm
little
saying,
bit. You
like
at
when-
the end of
Yeah, we had a little
StarQuest
bit,
though. You
yeah.
wasn't there
Man,
to
so
hate
I'm just
them.
gonna go ahead and throw the
That was
date.
like the
I'm
Death
at
Star
83. You know,
I'm 86.
83. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, but because we've been born in this time of just constant transition of knowing what it was, seeing how it started, seeing what it's become, but we still got this context. It's like we're part of this creative flow,
Mm-hmm.
so where we can kind of pull from.
And now we got
You know what I'm
kids.
saying? Like okay, we still got to make this adapt to humanity because we knew how humanity operated before.
And that's our. I
And
feel like
kids
that's
don't
our
know how to-
job.
A lot of people don't know, like, I mean, we got to literally say post pre-internet.
Really.
Right.
And as you said, you know what I'm saying, it's like manifest. You- Whatever we say, I'm pretty sure something's going to come up on my timeline that might
Oh,
be
yeah.
relevant to our
Everything's
conversation today. I'm
listening.
pretty sure
When
somebody
I
going
tell
it's going to be one of them
you,
woke
I don't
commercials.
know what they got going on with the
The
algorithm,
man.
but it's beyond them just tracking your habits and listening to what you save. Some kind of way
it's
they
some
have
real
access
Ultron
to the
stuff,
auric
man.
field because how do you know what I'm thinking?
That's
You know what I mean? I
Yep.
literally would think
would
about
think
something and it
something and it
pops
would
up
pop
on my
up.
timeline. I'm like, nah, y'all into some other stuff. I don't know what they doing with the CERN machine, but
But I
they
think
got some other stuff
things-
going on now.
there's being heard.
life is an
Mhm.
algorithm,
It's all
though.
being heard.
It
For one, what
is.
you're talking about. But then my son said something the other day. He said, "Daddy, how come when somebody's talking, it feels like it's breathing on me?" I was like, "It sure does. Like, why is there breath in here?"
And I be telling, like,
where's this air coming
it's a
from?
real thing. So we've coined the term algorithm.
Yeah.
That's why we got to teach our
AI.
kids STEM and math. I'm about to get into it.
Mhm.
Because
Efficient.
life is an algorithm, literally.
Yes, it
Like that is
is.
not, it's not by mistake that they use that
Mhm.
particular verbiage, because our thoughts, they always say everything that's old is new again.
Right.
Human beings think in patterns. They have
Mhm.
figured out the pattern. That's where AI comes from. That's why it seems
And
like
they can predict.
they
your
are predicting
future.
our thoughts.
Yeah.
But humans think in
Predictable.
algorithms. It's
Yeah.
predictable.
Yeah.
Do you know
So-
that the lady who wrote the Terminator and the Matrix was black?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did y'all
But
see that
we've-
video she put out there some years ago about why she did
Yeah.
those movies? Okay, cool. Then
I
we-
didn't see
Yeah.
that. I'll have to
yeah, check
out.
that out. And she was just like,
You
it was a
watch that
warning.
clone Tyrone, it's kind
Oh,
of
I was
along
watching that
it's
last night.
it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
that's the premise. But
Mhm.
black people have been privy to that, and we forget too. I was kind of getting into it with somebody that wasn't kind of on this level.
Mhm.
But our DNA is a history book. We
It
literally have our ancestors' DNA imprinted on our DNA. So the things that they knew, we knew. And the powers that be know this, so they try to wash those things out of us. But now we're so much more in tune
Yeah.
that we're kind of getting back to the way that we did things.
I
Like
literally
Mansa
wrote a
Musa
song
created
about
the first
this.
libraries and education way
Yeah.
back in however long ago he was
Mhm.
in power. But black people have been on this. Science, technology, mathematics, engineering, all that is
Yeah.
imprinted in
All
our
of our
DNA.
ancestors
So-
were skilled artisans.
Art, yeah,
That's
art,
why
all
they
of that
were
is imprinted
already
on
that.
our
How
DNA.
cool
They
would
were
it be if we
already
give
that.
So we're the
before they-
healing. We have
came
that.
over
So
this
what if
way.
we give ourselves that permission to actually mobilize?
And I think we're
Mhm.
Say,
getting
we gonna
there.
make a ship to go out of space.
We can.
We gonna make. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because if you
yeah.
think about it,
We don't
even
have
our
to use a ship to
creations
do
have
it.
been
You can do that
appropriated.
with your spirit if you know how to meditate. They
But
tried
but the
to- you know what I
majority
mean? A
of
lot that got
these
taken away,
inventions
too, but
that
we
do those
want to
things
do it.
we created, and they've been
Mhm.
appropriated, and they put a different face out
Right,
there
right.
so that we don't know that it's really us. It be us making the stuff. It's art
And
stuff.
look at what that does when you don't know that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When your mind is not aware
But
of
we are
what is
so
available
powerful.
to you, then
Yeah.
you just say, well, that's not
because
an
that's what
option
we've
for
been
me.
conditioned. I'm
Right.
like, and this about to get black people. We powerful, and
Mhm.
it's imprinted in our DNA. And the more we do this healing, they're
Mhm.
afraid because like our generation, like you said, we are the bridge between the old and the new.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting it. So just imagine we're just the beginning and look at what's happening all around us on
Mhm.
social media. I see it happening. Events like Heal Indie, the things that you're a
Right.
part of, it's us.
And I
Our
wrote,
generation
like,
specifically.
Have you heard my song
Imagine
Ancestors?
how our kids gonna be.
You said
Have
the
you-
song.
have you heard my
Ancestors?
song
She has a
Ancestors?
The one you
song
about to
called
sing right now?
Ancestors.
The one you about to
I'll
sing
do
right
a
now?
little bit from it.
Okay.
So, and I literally was talking about how you can take their lives, you can take their ways. The language is lost, but the message stays because it is so much deeper than
It is.
words.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they spoke something that we have no access to anymore, but we know what
But
it
we do.
feels like.
yeah.
You know
we
what
do.
I mean? It's imprinted on
It's
a much
imprinted on
deeper
our
level.
DNA.
Like you said, it's like a history book. That's
And
in
it's
our
not a
DNA.
spiritual thing. It is
Yeah.
scientifically proven. It like that's what DNA is.
Right,
We are
right.
literally our ancestors. We wouldn't have this dark skin if it got washed away.
You're giving me
This is
Lovecraft country
thousands and
vibes,
thousands of years worth of ancestors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we live. So we have slave DNA, but the slaves had Mansa Musa's DNA. And
To
those African
endure.
empires
Right.
and all that stuff is ingrained. That's why we are the only race of people in
Yeah.
history to have survived slavery.
Right.
Besides the Jews.
Right.
There's been no other race of people ever in the course of history to ever survive slavery. And we've done it even bigger. Black Americans specifically.
That's who I wrote the song for, was Black American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say mixed with slave and oppressor.
Yeah.
Because we are.
We are.
You know what I mean?
But that's
and a lot of
that's
times,
a part of us,
especially,
but it's not everything.
I've been in circles with, and I don't want to create any division, but this is just my experience. I've been in circles with African people who say, "Oh, Black Americans are so violent. They're so this, they're so that." And I got to thinking about that, and I was like, "Now, why would that be? Besides the fact that we've had such a history of, reasons why we should be angry and hostile, but some of that has to do with the fact that we are mixed with Vikings.
Right.
Those are very
We are
violent
different
people.
We are
okay?
not African.
They were savages. While they were calling other people savages that were living peacefully and minding their business, look at what
That's
you did to
it,
them.
yeah.
Who's really the savage here?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
We
But
are not
have that
completely
in our
African.
blood.
We are a different species of people.
Mhm.
Completely. We are
Altogether.
separate from
You say that,
Africa. We are separate from European Americans. Black Americans specifically are a different race of
A
people.
whole different breed.
We have a whole DNA strand
Yep.
that's different. It doesn't look like theirs or
It's
theirs.
mutated.
It's
Yeah.
mutated.
Like we are the X-Men.
We
we're
literally are.
GMO.
Well,
But
it's-
we have the
it's-
access. we have like
It's
both
been manipulated.
parts, but
It's
we also have
GMO.
access to American resources.
Mhm.
So that's what makes us
Yeah.
powerful, and the rest of the world knows that. That's
Yeah.
why they try to kill what we have. Like, hold on,
Look
they
at the program set in
survived?
place.
oh, we
You
gotta
know,
we gotta
They
stop
want all of
that.
our young men to kill each other and to kill themselves with drugs. They want all of our women to, not marry the men and continue on families, get abortions. Like, all of that plays into the fact that
Yeah.
they're trying to strip our
Yeah.
people of their power.
And
Racist,
meanwhile, we
yeah.
still, even though we've been through all that oppression, I still see like this healing. It was a big wound.
Mhm.
And every time I see events like that you participate in, things that you do, and
Mhm.
just like even as far as the Kirk Franklin documentary, like I just see like a wound being sealed up all over again. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so beautiful
Yeah.
that this is what we're doing. We are healing
Like
our
the
community
rose that grew from
again.
the concrete,
Yeah,
they
literally that's
literally have
us.
run our ancestors
Rose
out
that
of
grew
their
from
towns.
concrete.
The
Man.
KKK
Shout out
ran
to
people
Pop.
out of their towns, and they
Yeah.
covered up the towns
They
with
keep
water,
trying to-
and we got
yeah.
lakes and reservoirs everywhere.
like
and we
roaches.
were never ever told that there were full-on communities of Black people that were trying to mind their business and live their lives, but
Oscarville,
you know,
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
exactly.
Look, you done got into some whole. I'm like I said, like me and my wife, we were watching I don't know what's the movie, The Dirty D on Tubi or whatever.
I can't stand Tubi, but they be
Just-
good. They
but
be
I was
good
like-
movies though.
I said, man, when we start making all these movies,
Yeah.
and it's like, and like, I ain't even practicing acting no more. Just going out and being yourself.
Yes.
I was like, that don't
You
sound
wanna
like
act
you.
in this
you
movie
don't
next
sound like
week?
you the different person.
They say,
off
meet
of
me
the
on 38th
screen.
Street. We gonna book this
You want to
movie.
be in this movie?
But I say that.
Okay, not even act. You just gonna be.
Just
You
be
gonna be
in
in
You
the
gonna
movie.
be. You gonna be
Like,
in the movie.
So
Like,
I say
playing
that
yourself.
because what you said was, I know somebody who's living, I won't mention it, on one of them lakes you talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought up like briefly Lovecraft Country and what's my guy's name? Michael, who wrote Get Out from Key and Peele. Michael.
Yeah,
Peele.
Key and Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Mhm.
The fact that he's using that black sci-fi and really using realistic, like this is the horror of being black.
Being black.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's real. It's really
right,
horror
and
for
so
us
it's-
because it's like we lived that. That ain't-
you like
that
you
ain't
live
no
that,
lie.
you know.
And they wanted that man's eyes. They wanted his soul. They wanted his perspective. They wanted his history. They wanted everything that he saw so they could make the art like he did.
Mhm.
And it's like, so you want the pain without actually going through it.
Mhm.
You know, like you want the perspective of the
Yep.
pain. Like,
Yeah.
who knew we were so valuable?
Everybody but us.
Who knew our perspective was so valuable?
Everybody but us.
know?
We the only ones that haven't been tapped into it.
So why don't we
because
get
they
out
wash
of
it
the
away.
victim mentality
And I think
go
we're
into
learning.
a power mentality?
I think that's.
So
I
that's
think
like
that's.
where
it's
we're
a-
headed.
kind of the
It's a
direction we're
transition.
going in
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
That's the benefit, and there's a benefit and a curse to the internet. And I
Yeah.
think that that's been the benefit of the internet, because now
That
information can't be gatekeeped. Everything is public knowledge now.
Right.
Literally everything.
Right.
The good and the bad. So yeah, as much as we see the Sukis and the Sexy Reds, we see the Lakshmis, and we see the Scissors, and we see I love Scissor. She a little ratchet. And the Summer Walkers, where people are really able to put out
be
their true,
authentic,
genuine
yeah.
emotions and how they feel,
Mhm.
and really tell their authentic, real experiences without being shut down.
Right.
Because it's not gatekeep. We don't have Mr. Man at the top
Controlling
saying
everything.
that's not gonna make any money. We're like, all right, bet. So I'm gonna go spend $600, buy this camera,
and do it
and I'm gonna do it myself.
And I'm my own A&R. I'm my own VP. I'm my
Yeah.
own publicist.
Yeah.
And I have to learn everything this industry learned, and I have to learn it all on myself. That's what made Master P a genius.
That.
if we really
And
want
it
to talk
is a
about it.
healing
No, for
thing
real.
too, because you got to think about the fact that our people did have to put on masks and code switch and act and be and live a certain way for survival.
That.
Literally in survival mode. So now that we're in a
think we're
place
coming
where
out
we're
of
like,
it.
yeah, we're
coming
healing,
out of
we're getting
survival mode,
that.
because we don't we have the space to be able to do that. Like our grandparents and parents had to live in survival mode.
Right.
They had to code switch in order to do things.
Right.
We are in a generation where we have the luxury of not having to do that. We're actually probably the first generation since, I would say, since slavery, that's actually been able to live. There's a difference
Right.
between living and surviving. We
And
get
surviving,
to live
Yeah.
through healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, so it's
And
a
all of
beautiful
that
thing
was
to
right
watch,
there
like
under
in
the
real
surface,
time.
and we just weren't
Yeah.
able to bring it out because it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
You know,
And like
that's
that's the
kind of how I
beauty
feel
of
on a
like our
spiritual level too.
kids.
They used to kill people talking about their witches and seers and all
No,
this
for
other
real.
stuff. And I would be like, oh, okay, no wonder everybody wasn't talking about
Yeah.
that. And you can't find a lot of like written knowledge about that because they were literally taking people out just for thinking different, being different. But with that being such an authentic experience to those bloodlines that do experience that, it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away.
So it comes right back out when you're like, oh, is it safe to come out?
But
and
it's
talk
been
about
seen
this?
as bad or evil, or it's been churched out.
Because we were churched out, indoctrinated into fear.
Mhm.
I didn't grow up in the church.
And
Both
that's-
of my
yeah.
parents did, though.
Yep.
And they decided that they didn't want to do that to us.
Yeah.
Because they were indoctrinated with fear.
Mhm.
So I didn't grow up scared to learn about certain things. Like when I
Mhm.
tell you I studied theology and religions and spirituality all day from all over the world. And I'm like,
Mhm.
there's no way that all these people are going to hell.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
believe something different.
God is so
So
much
I
bigger
have
than
such
what
a more open heart
we-
and mind about that, you
Yeah.
know?
Because God is so much bigger than what we have been relished to believe He is in the church.
Mm-hmm.
He's huge. I feel like church like drowns him. Like I can't get
Tries
the
to put
words
him
out.
in a
Yeah,
box.
tries to put him, make him small.
Yeah.
Because it's comfortable. But if
Right.
you really do the research and reading for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about all the time. Jesus was a gangster. He was a thug for real.
Man, they
Like-
was a gang, okay?
And what
he
he-
said,
he
look, bro,
wasn't
they
in the
gonna kill
church.
me. They gonna kill you for associating with me. Like, that's a gang.
And he wasn't in the church. He went right to where the people were.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke their
Yeah.
language, and if you are a true, and I'm about to get churchy just for a hot second, but this is why I don't go to church anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I said, it dumbs God down. My
Mhm.
job, my ministry is to go to where my people are. We are all ministers to somebody in some way for something. My job is to minister to the people that are around me first. That could be my kids, that could be my coworkers, and it's not ministry in go to church and come to God. No. It's through healing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's through love and acceptance and grace and forgiveness and like showing up for people and being kind. That's how I show God. That's what Jesus did. He would tell you if you asked. Well, he didn't tell people who he was until they asked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In church, so this is because I've not had a church home per se since maybe 2016, 2015, something like that.
Same.
Baptized Catholic, raised Methodist, high school Catholic. non-denominational, learned how to meditate at the age of 16, 17 when I said, oh, that was real.
Mm-hmm.
I was above my head.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's why I
when
said
I
we
woke
don't
back
need to
up,
build
it was like
spaceships
it
to
was
go
like
out
I
of space.
fell
You
back
can
into
do
my
that.
body.
Yep.
You know, and my teacher at Cathedral had taught us how they said that's the teacher who's gonna teach you how to go to sleep. Nah, he taught me how to get he taught me how to meditate the chakra by releasing every body part,
Mm-hmm.
filling it with light, and then breathing that light into every body part, into where I was beginning to taking that image of light, and it was just like the middle of my head was just kind of going like this.
That third
and
eye.
I felt that
Third
pressure.
eye, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, I'm telling you this, I did this 17.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And as I'm learning this, it's like I'm the kind of guy who goes into a room and I try to listen to everybody's conversation at one time just so I can practice omnipotence. You know what I'm saying? So I can just be in all these collective consciousness at one time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I say that like, but I do tune in to certain folks. Like I said, I went to the Potter's house this morning because, you know, it connected me on a metaphysical level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you why, because I was like, you know, I mess with TD Jakes every now and again. I've known him since day one, but I ain't going to the Potter's house. But
Right.
then after, like I said, this was after my father died and I was in a high spiritual state.
Yeah.
To the point where if I right now, boom, this is Victor Glover right now. If you need to holler at me, what's happening, we can go over here.
Oh my gosh, that's scary.
And then, you know what I'm saying? Because I used to be over there off of college. When I was go over there, me, my cousin, I used to be over at their basement.
Yep.
You remember I used to bring you over here? This was their basement right now. And so then I would bring it over there, have my little. So this is me.
Literally, that's
Now
exactly.
being able to
His
tap
dad lived with
into
us when I was
my
a kid.
father's
Wow.
DNA and tap
Yeah.
into his memories all at once.
Yeah.
Because of how he's impacted me in life and through death. We had these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
People like even family, probably y'all really don't know. Family listeners, you really do not know what we took to mend our relationship. That was our last conversation in July. He wanted a Mickey Mouse watch. I tried to give him a gift card. He took that. He said, no, you take that, go give me a watch. I gave him a Mickey Mouse watch because that's what he loved. It was custom. From I can't even who makes them watches?
Pandora.
No. God, what you remember them big watches he had?
Yeah.
Got him his customized watch.
What's it called?
No. I can't remember. Invicta.
Yeah.
Invicta
Oh, okay,
watch.
okay.
His name is Victor. Invicta.
Yeah.
So I got him that watch. Boom. And I said, Pops, I know all is forgiven, right? It was like I love you. You know what I'm saying? It's
That's
like
so
we got to
beautiful
figure this
that y'all
thing
got
out.
to have that
And so
moment, too.
it was crazy because like I kind of feel like Ray from Claude and Ray when he said they took my
yeah.
daddy's watch. You know what I'm saying? Like when they got robbed and murdered, they took my daddy's watch.
Oh wow.
You know, and so it's just like there's a part of me that has to keep that, and like I said, because I'm battling with light and darkness
Mm-hmm.
at the same
I just
time.
got enraged for you.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like I said, I have to be able to
Channel.
master and be able to really actually truly meditate and exercise. And sometimes I'm tormented. Sometimes I spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can actually hear his voice. Sometimes I talk to my daughter even. My daughter, her name is Epic. She's very talented. She said, Papa, I was in my dream. I'm like, you lying. She said, well, he
Kids.
told me that I could look after the family. I'm like, wow. I would see stars. I would see shining stars. But what really got me was when he, let's see, you heard the voice, but I talked to a muse. I'm not a muse. I talked to folks talk dead people.
A medium.
A medium.
Mm-hmm.
Called him because he had just came to one of the shows I hosted downtown. I said, hey, man, listen, when you got some time, holler at me. I want to talk to you about my father. And he said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, when I settle down, I'm going to go ahead and I'll give you a call. I said, what's up? Hold up. I said, you good? He said, wait a minute. He said, somebody's in my car.
Came through right then.
See?
And I'm just like, he playing. You know what I'm saying? Like this
Yeah.
is the part of the riff right here.
Yeah.
And so I was like, he said, there's somebody next to me. He kind of he's dressed really nice.
Always.
And I was just like, and he has these black glasses on and like kind of like a brim hat. And I was like, that's the picture of my father on the wall.
Wow.
And then I said, okay, it could be anybody. It could be my grandfather. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I said,